Hello and welcome to the Hotspur Huddle. It's been a little while since I've done a live show, but I'm happy to be back and to be back with two wonderful people. So first of all, I'm joined by Wes once again. How are you, Wes?
Yeah, not too bad. Although I did have some unfortunate news earlier that one of my former coaches has unfortunately passed away. So thoughts are definitely with the family at this time. Just wanted to give that a little bit of a mention because that particular coach was one that did a lot for me as a player, and I owe a lot to him. To kind of find out that news today was bit of a choker, but no, good to be back. Obviously, we didn't go into hiding because of Derby Day, that's for sure. I think it was your fault, Holly, again, because you were a bit preoccupied with other bits and pieces. Also, happy birthday for Monday as well. But no, it's good to be back, 100%.
No, defo. No, thank you. And like I say, I didn't even know. So I'm wishing all the family condolences and stuff
Yeah.
with today. But no, it's good to have you back, Wes. And also, Nelson, it's good to have you on. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Good to be back. Don't know if hiding, Wes was talking about hiding here. Not sure, I fancied a show last week, but again, condolences to you and also the family of your former coach as well. And also happy birthday, Holly. I didn't know, but happy birthday. Hope you had a great one. So good to be back and ready to talk football.
Defo. Without further ado, like we always say, obviously this show is sponsored by Kofa. So Wes, I'm going to let you do your thing.
Yeah, so Kofoot or Kickoff Football Academy Milton Keynes run lots of different football sessions across Milton Keynes and surrounding areas. So yeah, if you have a young budding footballer in Dele Alli or Leah Williamson country, please send them our way. We have lots and lots of bits and pieces going on from our girls' football sessions. We have our boys' academy. We have our skills centre. We also have a very spooky October camp that is coming up as well. So yeah, please do get in touch because we'd love to help your child along their footballing journey.
Online. But without further ado, let's jump into it. Wes, I'm going to come back to you because obviously it was a nice little win for Spurs at the weekend, wasn't it? It was a good little birthday treat for me. What did you make of it?
Yeah, it was all right to be fair. Obviously, going behind inside 20 seconds was a bit of a shock to the system. But yeah, I think other than that, I think the way that we reacted was obviously a lot better than what we did against the Woolwich mob. I think obviously the timing of the goals is obviously completely different. We had a lot more time to obviously get back into it. But I think, like I say, it was more the reaction as a player to obviously going behind, because I think from a Spurs point of view, to see us go behind again, obviously after the disappointment of the derby and even the disappointing performance, not the result, the performance against Coventry, it kind of felt like, okay, here we go again. But no, I think, yeah, confident performance. I think we've played really well in games this season, but not had the goals, if you like, to back it up, and potentially the points return to back up our performances, which have been really frustrating. So to match the performance with a win, I think was really good at the weekend.
I think as well, obviously, I bet Nelson was loving life when we conceded so early on. But Nelson, for us, it was like quite nice to see that those three players that scored were the three players that needed to score, in the likes of Johnson. So what did you kind of make of the goal scorers?
Yeah, I kept track of the game as well. There was quite a lot of goals that weekend. And I think it's really good because I know we've spoken about on the show about Dom and how he would fare this season, and how questions were still up in the air in regards to how he would be. But I think this is great for him to get off the mark as well. And I think you guys have a nice run of fixtures that I think could help build up his confidence. Same with Madders. We know how poor he was towards the back end of last season after his injury. So for him to get this goal, I think will be a huge boost for his confidence. And I think you're going to get the best out of him now that he's got that goal and is up and running for the season. And then you've got Brentford as well. So I think, yeah, really important for the team, for the club, because as Wes mentioned, I think the performances have been there. The results just haven't shown. So this one was where performances actually matched the results. So it was a great reaction. I think that Coventry game, in my opinion, I think is a flick of the switch for the players. because I think they probably realised as well with that many minutes to go that this would be a very much embarrassing result for the club. So I think Ange has, I don't know, something has flicked, and I think now with the nice run of fixtures you have, I think you're going to find some momentum and form. So I think it was overall a great result to have that heading into.
Fingers crossed. And Nelson, I'm going to stay with you. Talking about good results, obviously, for the Spurs side, was obviously that late equaliser for City against you. What did you kind of make of the Arsenal-City game?
Look, I want to win, and I just don't feel like that was a good result. But if you put it into context, considering the fact that we had 10 men for 45 minutes, I remember seeing the notification, seeing 92, and I thought, do you know what, we could do this. And then I got the notification that, they equalized. So I'm very proud of that performance simply because I think in recent seasons against the Big Six, particularly City, who we've had a really terrible run against, that goal we concede quite early on to a typical Erling Haaland goal, I don't think we react to that, but we actually did react to the goal, and I think we reacted really well. And credit to the players. So I think, and it's the first time I've actually seen City rattled, for quite a while, in the sense that all these comments that I've been hearing about. I'm just like, you've what? Like, for you, like, I think for City, they should be disappointed that they didn't come away with the 3 points, because with 10 men, 45 minutes to go, you're thinking gung-ho, you're thinking go for all 3 points, but they didn't manage to do that. So I think in the context of it, I think it's a great draw for Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, I quite enjoyed it with the late equaliser. I don't know about you, Wes, because obviously there's a bit of controversy with the red card. I mean, so be it. But what did you kind of make of the game?
Wagwan Generals, in the words of Mr. Johnny Stones. Yeah, I do you know what? There's certain games that I watch and I go, I feel like I'm watching a completely different game. And I feel like Arteta's approach to the game, if that's any other manager, and we've been witness to this as Spurs fans, that manager gets absolutely slated like you would not believe. Like, imagine Mourinho pulling that performance out, or Conte pulling. They are getting lambasted in the media. Arteta does it, tactical genius. So there's little things like that for me that kind of don't sit well, because, like I say, if it's other managers, they seem to get a different type of press. And like I say, if it's Jose, it's boring, part of the bus football, anti-football, all of this. But when it's Arteta, it's a tactical masterclass. I think there was some good bits in the play. I thought City second half is probably the worst that I've seen them under Pep Guardiola. And bearing in mind, we've gone there with no centre back and dunked on them in like the 90th minute as well last season. But I was just really surprised with City. Like, the spaces are out wide. City are usually really good at creating 2v1s in wide areas. Watch them over the years, especially with Guardiola. 2v1s, wide areas, your wingers coming in, fullbacks getting around the outside, low crosses. Barely saw that. I don't even think we saw that once second half from City. So it really surprised me in terms of their approach to that second half. You knew they were going to dominate because, Arsenal were down to 10 men. And City dominate most games when it's 11v11 as it is. But yeah, City's approach was just baffling, like absolutely baffling. I think Kyle Walker was like the worst performance I've seen from Kyle Walker for a long time. City fans will probably tell you that that's a fairly regular thing, but yeah, that kind of left me baffled a little bit on Sunday. But yeah, I think the game itself was all right. I don't think it was as great as everybody makes out. But yeah, like I say, because I think there's other managers that have adopted those tactics previously and they got slated for it. Like, remember Mourinho parking the bus, if you like, at Anfield to effectively almost deny Liverpool the title, got battered for it for weeks. Not even talking days, weeks. So yeah, it's just one of those where I didn't see what everybody else was seeing in terms of this real chess game and this tactical battle that really took place. Like, I agree with Nelson though. The reaction from Arsenal to going a goal down was good, although I think Raya is massively at fault for the goal. I don't think he gets his angles right, because surely if Haaland is going in that inside right channel, you want him opening up on his left foot to try and bend it round. And I think he's tried to second guess Haaland, and he's just made his mind up for him. So, you always ask questions of the goalkeeper when they get beaten at their near post. But yeah, Sunday was interesting. But yeah, fair to say I was fuming when Arsenal went 2-1 up, but I was all right when the Barnsley Beckenbauer put one in the 97th minute.
Yeah, definitely. I was very stressed. And I think you're both right in a sense that it wasn't the big game it was made out to be in terms of fast and furious. It was just, I was just getting they managed to get the late kind Cup, and then obviously you are playing Leicester as well. Now I'm hoping Harry Winks will actually show up for this game, maybe to give you a little bit of midfield, but I doubt it. But how are you kind of feeling for the next kind of fixtures for you guys?
Well, our next 3 fixtures are very kind to us, considering that run of games that we've just had, and many people I think, doubted us to come out with results or at least points. I think people had expected us maybe to potentially lose the derby because it was away from home, but also get battered by City. So I think to come out with that with 4 points, 4 out of 6, I'm not, as an Arsenal fan, I think most of them are happy. So the next 3 games, Leicester, Southampton, Bournemouth, those are kind fixtures now for Arsenal to kind of get back on form. So you'd assume that, Leicester being a promoted side, that most people would think that Arsenal would go and get the victory. But I've actually been quite impressed with Leicester this season. There's been a couple of performances where they haven't been great, but they have shown signs and flashes of what they can bring to the league. Obviously, I was there with Wes watching the very first game of the season, and how they reacted to being a goal down. But obviously, I think that was more of Spurs not killing away chances rather than Leicester actually being great. But I think I've been impressed with what they've been able to do so far. When I went to Fulham to watch Fulham v Leicester, and actually was very impressed with the passages of play that they played in that game too. So obviously, they got a man up top. Jamie Vardy does love a goal against Arsenal. I think ever since that transfer rumour, I think he's loved scoring against us. So I wouldn't put it past him to bag another goal. And who knows what Mr. Winks could do? Who knows? Man could bend one in the top bins and I'd be crying for weeks. So we don't know. But you'd assume that because it's a newly promoted side, that Arsenal will go in there and look to kill off Leicester. But you never know. Obviously, playing with a game this midweek against Bolton, that could affect the game as well. So we're going to have to wait and see. I think this league is crazy. So each game at a time as it comes. So I think that Arteta would want to go gung-ho and actually put his attacking players out there and actually look to give some minutes as well to maybe some players that haven't had them as much. So I'm not sure how the game's going to go, Holly, but I'm going to predict a victory. So we'll see how it goes.
Lovely stuff. And that's the thing with Spurs, though, Wes. We do have United at the weekend. I know we play Carrier-Bag. I always pronounce it wrong, but I like to say Carrier-Bag. But we obviously have them on Thursday, and then we have United at the weekend. So how are you kind of feeling for those 2 fixtures?
Yeah. Listen, we should realistically be getting maximum points out the Carabag game. I think anything less from that type of game wouldn't be ideal from a Tottenham point of view. I think I know there's a couple more games now and you kind of afford to drop points, but I think and I think I've mentioned this before when it comes to the Europa League, like our away assignments are tricky and our home fixtures are fairly favourable, barring Roma, I think. So yeah, I'm fully expecting us to get 3 points and kickstart our Europa League campaign in a good way. It's nice that we're back in Europe. Obviously, we missed it last year for the first time actually in a long time, which I think a lot of fans don't kind of realise. And then United on Sunday. Now that's going to be a really interesting one because obviously they play tonight. As well, so they got that extra day's kind of preparation. But United are just so inconsistent. Like you never know what you're going to get. Are you going to get a United that turns up like they did at the weekend against Palace, or you're going to get one that usually turns up against Brighton where they're like all over the place, or you're going to get one that can kind of turn up and put in that real performance. So, and I think that's kind of been the story of a Ten Hag United, and I think that is down to the reason, or certainly some of the reasons why people are getting onto him, because United have been inconsistent, but usually when you have an inconsistent team, you can still see the manager's imprint on that team. we haven't seen that from United at all in coming into Ten Hag's third year now. And I think those are why there's a lot of question marks around United at the moment. But yeah, I think that will be an interesting game. Look, I think out of these next two games, if we get the win tomorrow night, point away at United, because it can be a tricky place to go. I think I'll be more than happy with that.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, Nelson, coming to you as well. It's Tottenham's way that we'll go and play them. We won't play very well. But, Nelson, it sounds like Højlund might actually be back in the fourfold. Before we get on to FPL, that might change things. But how do you kind of see this game going down for Tottenham?
I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think I agree with Wes in the sense of we've seen the Ten Hag era for nearly 3 years now, and there's just not been anything that shows that he's actually putting his philosophy forward. Whereas for you guys, I can actually see that Ange is putting something forward for the long term. You just don't see that with Ten Hag. And again, for you guys, it's just who you're going to get on the Sunday. You just don't know. I would back Spurs to get a victory there, get a result. And if I was a Spurs fan, I'd be looking at Qarabağ as well as United and look for maximum 6 points. Get 3 and 3. So it's just about how Ange will set up because Erik Ten Hag tends to play better or seem to want to bring out his tactical nous for the big 6 games. So he might want to do something there to just show off that he still got it. And then the next 4 weeks, United will just lose another 4 games. So it's just a weird one. But I would back you guys. I think it might be good heading into for Sunday. So I think Qarabağ might affect it. I think a good result against Qarabağ will obviously bring momentum for United, especially, like you said, tricky away at Old Trafford. But I think regardless of the Qarabağ result, I think you guys will be up for it. And I do think it could go and swing in your favour.
I hope so as well, especially like we spoke about earlier with Solanke scoring, Johnson scoring, Maddison scoring. They're kind of all on high spirits at the moment, so hopefully we can bag a few more against United. But it wasn't just obviously the Premier League. The WSL came back this weekend. And now, so I'm going to stick with you first, because I know that you went to the game. So how was it to see the women's football back?
So good. So good. So good. And I should have sent you the picture, Holly, but yeah, I had my Insta famous moment on Instagram with my picture up there. And it's just, I think the atmosphere is just growing. It's getting bigger, getting more recognized. And you're getting hardcore fans, not just getting people coming out for days out. You're actually meeting people and other peers within the game that love the game just as much as the men's. And I've started my fantasy WSL as well this season. So for those of you that didn't know, so you can still sign up and join your fantasy WSL. So again, it ended 2-2 for Arsenal against City, same like the men's, but it was a great game. I think great game to see atmosphere, tackles flying everywhere, couples actually scoring against each other in Viv and Beth as well. Viv Miedemar scoring and then her girlfriend scoring on the opposite end. So the script was written already. But it's just good. I think having the league back is really refreshing. I think they've pumped in more money as well and more investment this year as well, with a lot more broadcasting on YouTube as well to make it more accessible for those as well. Holly, it's just great for it to be back. So I'm happy.
It is, and actually, it's funny you mentioned you can watch it on YouTube, because that's actually how I watched the Spurs game the weekend. Because Wes, we did manage to beat Palace 4-0. And some of the goals were cracking as well.
Yeah, I think obviously great result for Spurs women. I think sometimes, and I don't know if this has come from like the men's side, but when we have like a promoted team in the same way that obviously Palace got promoted from the Championship, it just seems to be a Tottenham thing where we just kind of slip up. But it seemed like it was a really convincing win and convincing performance from the girls. So yeah, big up. And Nelson, my mate Viv says hello as well. But yeah, no, I don't tend to be able to get to watch many WSL games, unfortunately, because they're on a Sunday, and for me that's when I do a lot of my one-on-one sessions. But I do try and keep track and up to date with the WSL as much as I can. Obviously, with the work that I do, there's a lot of young girl and female footballers that we work with, and obviously we want them to, potentially, we're talking about them one day, who knows. So yeah, but no, convincing win for Spurs women, got the season up and running to a good start. yeah, it was interesting Rob's comments as well, because obviously we lost Celine Bizet to Man United. She's linked up with her bestie Grace Clinton, and then we signed a winger from Real Madrid. I'm not going to try and pronounce her name because I'll end up butchering it. But it was interesting that he mentioned the word like upgrade. And obviously Celine Bizet is a really good young player coming through. But yeah, to hear that a manager coming out and saying we've actually upgraded on a player that we've lost is quite rare. So yeah, but I'm hoping for the women's side in particular to really build on, what they did last season, and try and push potentially that top four, which is going to be extremely difficult. But yeah, we'll see.
It's definitely exciting times ahead. And like I say, it was mad. I was going to say, how did you think, Nelson, of obviously seeing Viv on the other side? Like, it must be, especially like you said, where they both scored as well. Like, this is a bizarre moment, isn't it?
It was so weird. I went with my girlfriend and a couple of other people, and we were just so baffled as to see her in blue, and we just said, this looks horrible on her. But she balled out because interestingly enough, she played behind the front three. And it was really nice to see her playing, like really pulling the strings. So I was really impressed with her performance. And when the ball came to her at the edge of the box, I said this is going to go in top bins. But the deflection obviously took it in. But I just knew it was going to go on target, and that's who she is. She's the WSL record goal scorer. So I had a little go at the Arsenal manager saying, like, that's why you don't let her go on a free transfer, because these things happen. But yeah, I think it's really those things. It's beautiful to see, anyways, because she's come back from an ACL injury. So those who are big WSL fans, anyways, for me, it was just great to see her back and playing back to her best. So I think you're going to get the best out. I think City are going to get the best out of her this season. And in general, the goals that we were flying in over the weekend were amazing. Brighton had a great game. Fran Kirby scored, moving from Chelsea to Brighton. Lucy Bronze playing her first game for Chelsea. So it was just great to have everything back in the WSL. So yeah.
No, it's good. And like I say, I think the standard is definitely on the rise as well, which is really nice to see. And like you said, obviously the crowd's coming. It's not just coming for a day out. You're actually coming because you know the players that play on the pitch. It's just great to see. But we're going to move on because we're going to talk about FPL. And I'm going to bring up Wes's first. So here you go, Wes. Walk us through it, man.
Oh, this is going to be the bane of my life this year. To be fair, not as bad as what I have had. I think the only thing there that I could really, argue was perhaps having Henderson in goal instead of Bernd Leno. But yeah, it's just not clicking for me at the moment. I don't know why. My players have had favourable games. Like, I think what's killed me, to be fair, last weekend was obviously Liverpool losing to Forest, where usually that's a bit of a home banker. And then I don't think Onana did his bits like he has been doing in previous games. So yeah, it killed me a little bit. Obviously, West Ham performance, they were terrible, by the way, against Chelsea. But yeah, I'm looking at Bowen to potentially get some points there. I know he's usually good for a goal. But listen, that guy Welbs. Oh man, I'm not saying it's a masterstroke, but yeah, I think between him and João Pedro, they've been like killing me a little bit, because I put one in and then the other one does a worldie and vice versa. But yeah, it was nice for Welbs to get a goal. I'm looking and toying of maybe taking out Bernardo Silva, because I think I've just got him in there because I love him as a player. But I'm pretty sure Nelson has said to me, yeah, you can do that, but he's not going to get you points. So I might need to swap him out and bring someone in.
Interesting. It will be, like I say, you're getting there, Wes. But 42 points this week. Jesus Christ! You need to up it a little bit, man.
I don't know what I can do, to be honest. I've made loads of changes. I've went full Ranieri with Tinkerman. Still not happening. If anybody's got any tips they can share with me, please help me out.
I'm going to bring up Nelson's because I swear he gives you tips every week and you just don't listen. So Nelson,
I do listen. I promised I'd listen.
Well, my team did all right. I'm a bit gutted regarding my captaincy. I just was bitter that Haaland wasn't going to score against Arsenal, but he did. You always got to bank a Haaland goal. Henderson did well. He's been very frustrating because you expect Crystal Palace's defense were one of the bright spots towards the end of last season. So, and I think Joachim Andersen is a big miss now that I'm really thinking of it, because they have not been able to keep a clean sheet. So the fact that Henderson, I saw 9 points, I was like, boy, this is nice. Lewis Dunk is a problem. Okay. I expect him to dunk on people, not dunk on me. This was a very bad week for him, as well as João Pedro, who I thought he'd start because he missed last week's game, but he just hasn't really done well, to be fair. My wild card has allowed me to get Cole Palmer as well. I was gutted when I saw 2-0 and saw that he didn't do anything, but then when he got the third goal, very happy. But yes, Wes, you talk about Onana, but the guy that you really need is Morgan Rogers. This guy, I think, is going to be a great player for Villa. He's already shown really bright performances for Emery. And I was very patient with him because we're now on game week 6, and I just felt as though something was going to happen for him. So the fact that he got 2 assists as well is a great shout. I brought Dwight McNeil in. I thought he'd bang as well against Leicester City, but I think Everton have a nice run of fixtures, so he does get involved. But we'll see. But yeah, I'm very happy. But Holly, I mean, you didn't do too bad yourself.
No, I mean, I didn't. And I'd like to say there's some sort of process in my brain of how I do it. There's really not. I just leave it and hope and pray. I thought I did get more points than you, Nelson, but I obviously didn't. So that was a little bit of a lie. But yeah, I had Rodgers as well, look. So I listened. And I captained Son. So nice. Yeah, although when I was on holiday, Jason, I was saying to Jay, I need to change my team. And he was like, oh, it's fine, we'll sort it. But what is it where you change it for a week and then it reverts back? Because that's what happened, and he lied to me. So he cocked it up for the week when we came back because I got hardly any points.
I think he unfortunately he hit the free hit.
That's the one.
and that only allows you to change your team for 1 week, but it reverts back. So he should have probably done a wild card. But
yeah.
He didn't.
So I wasn't very happy with him when I got back from holiday. So, but now I have completely changed it. But I'm going to leave it a surprise for next week, and then I can talk it through. But knowing my luck, I'm going to do worse next week than I am this week. But it's safe to say, I think, Wes, you just need to sort it out.
Well, I've got 2 changes in mind. I was actually, Nelson mentions Morgan Rogers. I was thinking take out Bernardo Silva, whack in Morgan Rogers. But John Duran, I think, is an interesting one because he's not starting for Villa. He's coming off the bench. But when he's coming off the bench, he's scoring. So he's racking up the points in that way. But it's one of them, do you take the punt on him and go for him? But then what will happen? Sod's law, I get him in my team. He starts, he has an absolute shocker. Probably gets sent off and then or snaps his ACL, bless him, and then he's out for the season. So yeah, I think, but then with my strikers, I think my strikers are actually not too bad in terms of Isak, João Pedro, Welbs. But yeah, those are my 2 that I'm wanting to get in. I think Morgan Rogers will definitely come in. It's just, yeah, if I can get Big John Duran in, because he's been balling out for Villa this year. But yeah, but then would I just leave him in to start, or because he's coming off the bench? This is what I mean. Yeah, so he's not starting, so he doesn't get those points there. So that's an interesting one.
It is. Sorry, John Duran is really interesting because a lot of people have been wanting to get him, but because he isn't starting, that you just don't know. But he's been able to have attacking returns in each basically game week, and he scored midweek as well. So you probably back him to score on the weekend. But I always say, Morgan Rogers, I think, is one. I went for Brian and Mbeumo because they have a really nice run of fixtures. And then in terms of a cheap forward, because I know you have 2 from Brighton, Wes, I would recommend for anyone to go grab Chris Wood. I think Chris Wood is a very good shout. He's on penalties now. I thought it was Gibbs White, but he's now suspended. So I think Chris Wood is a great pickup at 6 million. You can get a cheap striker there. So those are the 2 transfers I went for. I could have went for Arsenal because they have a nice run of fixtures. So Holly, if you are wildcarding, I would back any. It's hard. It might be hard for you to grab it, but
absolutely not.
If you win the whole thing, you could bring in some Arsenal. I say probably the keeper at best, Raya or someone in defence. But I think Brentford and Everton, have a nice run of fixtures. So I always target.
I don't think Everton have a nice run of fixtures for Everton's team.
True. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
Everton's
yeah.
team is terrible. They might have a nice run of fixtures on paper, but throw into it Everton's actual team, and then you might need to just reevaluate because Everton's team
Yeah.
is not it. I'm
You're
sorry.
right. Yeah.
Sorry for any Everton fans out there, but you're probably
Don't take that advice.
yeah, like sorry to any Everton fans, but yeah, I think you guys know realistically that you're going to be in a dogfight this year. It's going to take a little bit of a while for obviously the new owner to come in and get his stamp on things. So, but yeah.
No, but we'll have to see how we all do next week. Hopefully Wes hits 60 points mark and catches up with us. But it's been lovely tonight, guys. We've actually covered quite a lot, which has been quite nice. I think next week as well, we'll do a little bit of WSL as well, just to like keep it going. And obviously always FPL. Next week I might bring up the league table and we can see how everybody's doing as well, not just us, just so that Wes feels a bit better, so he's not at the bottom. Bless him.
Just bring your neck braces, kids, because I'm looking up rather than looking down.
Indeed. So. But we'll say our goodbyes. So thanks again, Wes, for joining me on this Wednesday night. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, so Twitter's at Wezo10, the unofficial East End Belly fan account, as everybody knows by now. Instagram's at Wezo32. I'm at the Carabag game tomorrow night if anybody wants to come and say hello. Not that I'm as famous as you, Holly. So I don't really get any fans coming up to me like you do. But hey ho. And then Kofa MK across your socials for any football coaching stuff, and WM32 Football on some social channels, which is TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for some football content that I try to do when I can, basically.
Bosh, like it. And Nelson as well. Thank you again so much. Where can everybody find you?
First of all, I'd like to point out that I feel uncomfortable doing this after Wes because he always does the.
I thought I'd mix it up.
But yeah, no, great mixing up. Everyone can find me on Instagram at nnatumba25. So that's my surname you can see on the screen. My surname Tumba, and then 25 on Instagram.
Perfect stuff. And like I said, we'll be back next Wednesday as well at a later time next week. So you can watch us then. And obviously, Holly Hotspur Live is back on Monday. Hopefully, we'll be talking about a bloody win because that would be lovely. But like we always say, and I always do this every week, I need to come up with a new thing so I don't alienate Nelson when I do the outro. But next time, we'll see you soon. Come on, Spurs.